Hey everyone, what's going on? Yes, it's Manny. I know it seems like I've been missing in action, but it's been a massive, crazy year. Most of you know that I've moved my studio and I just got it up and running. I also took on, right before the building I was in got sold at the beginning of the year, I had taken on a lot of repairs on microphones. And sadly, I've taken the longest time ever in my life to get back all these. It's kind of like initially when I did it, hold on a second. There's something wrong here. Is that right? Back. I'm not sure what happened here. What's going on? Did I just lose? Let's see here. What is this? I have a weird. It says orientation is locked. Rotate device back. Okay, I'm not sure what that is, but anyways, I don't know if this is still showing up. Maybe let me do this again. I'm getting a weird warning on my screen about my thingamajig here. It says I'm locked in here. Hold on a second. This way? There it is. Okay. Maybe that's what it is. All right. Well, anyways, I've just had the craziest time. And every time I post, like, if I'm going to the movies or something, I get 30 emails of people saying, hey man, where are these mics? And one of the biggest thing is I've never had a mic returned that wasn't high quality or sounded amazing. That being said, it sometimes takes me 3 to sometimes a day and a half to re-ribbon microphones, just because I care. And I didn't really offer this service to make money when I help people upgrade mics, but I definitely wanted to help out a lot of people. So all these people that have been really super sweet and nice, and everyone has been really patient. No one has asked for their money back. I finally have gotten the pile down to, it looks like I have maybe 7 to 8 boxes left, and at one time there was 30 of microphones to repair and re-ribbon. And that's coinciding with building the studio, getting my studio started, and I went almost 4 months without work. So as much as I want to take the time to get all these high quality mic re-ribboned, I'm finally getting back to it. And I had a good few days off this week where I just finished a really amazing record of a local band called Werewolf Etiquette, and the record came out incredible. Maybe some of my best work with a two-piece band. So on levels of being a producer, being an artist, all those are hitting on all the cylinders. What's up, Jackson? Hey, Shannon. Dude. Girl. Shannon, I'm just kidding. But so I have right here is a M260. Usually people are familiar with 500s, Beyer 500 ribbons, Beyer 160 ribbons, and 260s and 160s, and there was I think a 130 are a little bit different. So I've never taken this mic apart. I actually haven't yet. And that was one of the things I wanted to do with this, is to on the spot show you what I'm doing. This is from Lester. He sent this in to me, and I have to get this done for him. And these are really difficult mics to work on. So I have to make sure I have at least a half a day of my time or more to get this done and get it right. I may not show you everything, even the re-ribboning, but I'm going to open it up and check it out. I've never opened up this mic before. And like I said, like always, in the right below the title of this, there'll be a thank you. You can buy me a cup of coffee if you dig watching this, but you don't have to. I do this because I love it. And I'm also, everybody's been really patient. And like I said, I'm chipping away at all these repairs. And these ones are just extra special, but also extra difficult. So I have an assortment of some screwdrivers, and I'm going to see, this one is a small Phillips, so this one is crazy. I don't know why. I went out and bought a bunch of screwdrivers, and this is, for some reason, even though it looks massive, it's the only one that fits in small head. So I'm going to see if this one's going to work. I have no idea what that is about. No, that is not going to do it. So we need a really small one. So I have a bunch of these little green ones. I think, where am I getting all the flatheads? Jeez Louise. Okay, I'm going into my screwdriver scenario here. Oh, obviously I'm not looking when I'm grabbing. A Sharpie's not going to open that. All right, so that's possibly a candidate. That's possibly a candidate. Oh, that one's not going to do it. So let me put these ones back. So anyway, so that's what I've been up to. If you've tuned in, I know I was posting a lot of repairs and a lot of things going on, but, you know, life has come upon me where, in all honesty and sincerity, it's been pretty maxed out as not only an artist living in California, but having to go almost 4 or 5 months without work has put a stress on a lot of things in my life. Doing this is obviously because I love doing it, so I'm really glad everybody mostly has been really patient with me. I do want to get all these mics done and have them done correct. I test them all. I just want to make sure they sound really awesome. People have paid a lot of money to get these repaired. So anyways, I'm back on the repairs. In other good news, I do have a microphone company on Instagram called Original GravityWave Microphone Company, which is called OGMC. I wish I can show you what the mic looks like, but I've done a prototype mic that was a combination between a BK5 and a Russian BK5, and I've done all the things that I love about ribbons and put it into this mic. I do have a line of ribbons to do, and but this first mic that I'm doing, you can say it's similar to a Beyer because it's going to be, you know, front address where you can put it right up to the speaker. But anyways, that'll be for another premiere. I'll do a live one that'll show you the mic once I get the prototypes back and I can start testing them. So let me get this one done. So these ones, I will say, which is kind of cool, usually Beyer 160s, these are glued to the top of this one. But some of the newer Beyer 500s, they have a little screw. So I'm really, really happy to see a screw, which means this is going to be really easy. Not easy, but it's going to be a little bit better to open up. So I'm just going to see what's going to work here. I've got to get these little tiny screws out of here. All right, that one looks like it's doing it. Yeah, it did it. All right. There's probably going to be 3, I'm assuming. There's 1. And I always keep these in a little container so they don't roly-poly out of there. All right, this is 2. So, I mean, I can say that Beyers are some of my favorite mics. I mean, I can't say as a company, they're probably one of the greatest companies where you can buy almost all their microphones and they're really useful. I'm really having a tough time with this guy. I ain't working. Am I gonna fail on my first live attempt at this? No. We have success with the other one. I never thought I'd buy so many screwdrivers and so many things. Like, I mean, I never thought this would make me happy. You know? And I have diamond files, all this like weird stuff that like I never thought that would work. So let me see, did I get this or am I failing? Oh, that's not working either. No, let me do this one. We may have an ending of this if I can't get these little screws off. I may have to. I'm sure I can use a flathead maybe. Wow, that one come off. I know, Shannon. I think you emailed me and the first time I was like, oh, there's a girl here. I was like, no, it's a dude. That's all cool. Okay, so that's 2. We got that one. That one seemed to be problematic. Let's see if I got another screwdriver in here. Let's see if this one's gonna do it. I just don't want to strip it. Oh man, that is not cool. All right, let's go. Let's get a small flathead. Check my little stash here. That one possibly could do it. I think that's it for my screwdrivers. We may be dead in the water if I can't get this last little guy off. I may have to come back with another live to get this going. Oh man. That is definitely a bummer. So hard to get off. I can't believe this one is just ripped into there. Check that out. Unbelievable. This may be a failure before I even start. Well, if I can't get this out of here, I'm gonna have to search. I have a few other screwdrivers. All right. That is crazy. That is so difficult. Let's go to my tried and true. I don't think this is gonna work either, but I'm just afraid to be, it doesn't feel good doing that. You there? Man, this may be the first time in history. Oh, it's gonna be a, if that's what you're asking me, Ellie, it's gonna be a, like a Beyer 160. I forgot it's not super carded. Is it super carded? It's gonna be just straight up knot. I do have some other designs that are gonna be figure 8. But this is turned into something else here. I don't really have any other solutions for this except somehow getting this last little screw out. Well, this thing is just terrible. Well, this may be one of my first failures of going live and not being able to address this. It is just completely unmovable. I don't know what they did to, how they screwed this in with a power tool, or I don't know what, but it is not, it's not budging. All right, man. Here. Yeah, you know what? I'm gonna open this one up. I can't remember if this has 1 or 2 ribbons. I usually do Beyer 160s, which have 2 ribbons. That is definitely a bummer. Well, I'm gonna do this. For all your patience and everyone, I have something else to do here. What can I do to save the day? Well, I'm gonna have to come back to this one. This one is definitely gonna be, I'm gonna have to look for some other tools. Let me see if maybe this one will do it. I have some other small screwdrivers, but I feel like I need a little bit more strength to turn this than this one. Yeah, this one is, whoa. Just trying not to stab my finger too. That is definitely stabbing material. Oh, shoot. Well, it was really difficult to get in there. Do I have any small ones? Better Phillips. All right, let's just pull them all out. I'm trying to save the day here. That's it for my small ones. I'll try one more time with my go-to. It's gonna spin, I feel that. I don't think this one's gonna do it. This one's way too big. I feel like it's going to strip. Just trying to feel it out. Like, yeah, I can't really get a good grip with this one. I did with the small one, except there's just not a lot of, I don't have a lot of grip. Let me try to use my gloves. Hold on. All right. My rated for finger damage gloves. I have stabbed myself with these a few times, but at least it will lessen that. I get a little bit more grip on this. See if I can get that in there. I feel like I got it. I might be able to get that. Let me see here. It's because I don't want to damage the mic. A bigger handle on this. I just can't get any torque because it's so small. Let's see, maybe this one will do it. Screws too. Not that big of a deal. I think I'm getting to the point now where I'm just ruining it. Yep. There's no way. That is so crazy. I've never come across that. I was just admiring how wonderful Beyers were, because usually when you do 160s, you have to get a little chisel and undo them. It's a little bit of a bitch, but the screws, I thought would be like, oh my God, this is gonna be heaven. Like I said, I didn't even prep this. I wanted to just go live and be like, hey everyone, look, I'm opening up a 260, and now I'm just like, oh no. We have one Rebel screw. I don't think that's gonna work either. I'm just running it. Yep. Holy smokes. I mean, there is a solution. Of course, I will get this out, but I don't think it's gonna be on time here. I know, I want to put it in a vice grip. The only problem is I don't want to damage the mic. Usually I don't have that problem. I do have this vise, but I just don't think this is going to do it either, and I don't want to screw with the body. Yeah, that is problematic with that one. And like I said, that's what, that's totally killer. This one is just problems. And I was trying to see if I can get an alternate flathead in there. I just don't think these are doing it either. This one would be the one that would be probably able to do it. I just don't think can't really get a grip on it. All right, if I can't get this done in the next minute, I'll throw something else up on the chopping block, and I'll have to deal with this once I get offline. Hola, what's up, Leonardo? I appreciate everybody tuning in. Looks like I'm failing. Yeah, that is just a bummer. Tweaked in there. They just really jammed it in. I mean, and to the most part, these don't get really repaired. If they send them back to Beyer, they pretty much just throw away the whole top part and give me a new one. I don't think they're really going to mess with these. So it's a little bit of a bummer. Oh, That would have been a great one to start with first, but the coolest thing, I mean, the reason these screws are really soft is because, you know, they work well, and actually your comment, Shannon. Being pushed off center of the screw holes. And thanks for the comment. Yeah, I just don't know. I've never seen one so jammed in there. I don't think I'm gonna be able to get this one out because I think a smaller. I mean, I think I'm at the point now where I may have to slightly drill this one out. It's not what I want to do. Usually these flatheads are really nice to get in there, but I think that unless I can get some kind of wedge in here. All right, so let me do something else. And this is not what I wanted to do, but let's just see. Hold on a second. Hold that thought. Hold that thought. I got something here. Everyone hold tight. Hold tight. Don't leave me. Don't leave me. I got something cool. All right. This out. Well, this is what I'll take apart then. Wasn't what I planned, but thank God I have a lot of repairs and people do want me to work on their mic, so here we go. I didn't give up on that. I'm just gonna have to come back to that mic. Oh yeah, we have a Cascade. That is a beauty. Look at how massive that is. That's probably a Lundell transformer. Now actually it says SSPU. This is my friend Fritz. He did the Silver Sun pickups, and this is probably used on the Silver Sun pickups. He brought this to me. I don't think this one was necessarily not working. I think he brought it to me to just check it. I usually find these and they just need to be re-ribboned, even though these are killer mics. And it's kind of like getting these microphones are like buying a rad car, and then, like I say, you get a Shelby Mustang. It has a killer engine. It has terrible tires on it and can't stay on the track. Kind of with these things too. This is the engine. Everything's perfect on there, but then the ribbons are like the tires, and they're terrible. I don't know the origin of these, if these are made in China or not, but I know definitely most of the times I open these up and the ribbons could be better. And I mean and better in the sense of like, so let's make sure before I do this, that one came off easy. I'm not going to just start torquing them yet after that experience. Yep. My trusty screwdriver didn't fail me now. Don't fail me on this one, because at this point, I can't lose 2 times in front of all my friends. Hold on. All right, so we are good. So this is going to come off. Hello, Metatron. I'm not sure what that's short for, but I like that name. Do you know where I could buy a transformer in Canada? You know what? I don't know. Most of the people I know that buy transformers, a lot of them, they just go on eBay and buy them. I know I bought a lot of Lundells on eBay. I think you can get them for 60 to 80 US dollars. And then even being in the States, you pay a little bit for the shipping and done here. There was a guy in Texas, I think it's called Gas Note or something like that. He's always got transformers. I think he makes his own custom ones. But as far as in Canada, I don't know of any Canadian ribbon mics where I would say what to do. So like I said, I haven't opened this one up yet. I'm assuming this will be the side to open. Okay. All right. So you can see this one has definitely been used. It's not a brand new one. But I will tell you, looking at that, that thing is just ruined. there's no corrugation in that. So this is a good one to do, because what you see right there, it should look that way all the way across, and it doesn't. So I'm not going to necessarily do this fully, but I'm going to show you not only taking it apart, but then things that I kind of do for this mic, just generally speaking, on why would I replace it, why am I replacing it, and then also the benefits of doing this. So you can go online right now and buy these all over the world. I'm pretty much can safely say that every time I've gotten one of these, they've looked just like that, which means they're kind of ruined. All right, I love that. Serves as a guide for humanity, speaker of God. Alrighty, the presence of God. All right, that's a good positive thing here that you're doing. All right, so let me adjust this for you. So obviously I was starting with a Beyer. Now we're in a Cascade, which is cool. I got to get it done. I'm just grabbing a little water so I can drink. Let me get in there, Pellegrino. Like I said, if you want to help me out, I'm not begging. I'm just saying, in the thanks section, you can send me a little bit of coffee money, or maybe to buy another water. See, and then I get this water, and I can't even take off the cap. I am just losing today. All right, there it goes. All right, so we're going to do this Cascade. And like I said, almost every Cascade I've ever seen and ever worked on, they look just like this. So when you buy one, excuse me, taking a drink. If you buy one, they all come looking like this after a while. Because a lot of them, I don't know if they still make these. But even if they did, I just don't think they're made well as far as the ribbons. The microphones are made well. Like I said, it's like buying a rad car with a great engine. Terrible tires, can't stay on the track. These are all about the sound. Having a good transformer is like making a bad microphone sound loud. It's going to be louder. But that transformer with a great ribbon then makes a great team. So you do want to get these if you buy them. And either I can do them or find someone that can change these ribbons for you. So I'm going to tilt this one down a little bit. I usually wouldn't work on it like this, but I'm just going to do this for more show and tell. Move this over here. So as you can tell, that ribbon is just wasted. You can't really see it because it's covered in this, but I'm gonna take that off. Actually put this down underneath it as well. Sometimes the screws will fall off. I'm actually gonna lean this back. I think it's offset on weight. Yeah, that feels a little bit better. Definitely want this to fall down. So I put this little mat under it to hold any screws that may fall, and I've done enough of my, what do they call that? Crack carpet guys. When they would drop their little crack on the floor, they'd be crawling around the floor looking for it. That's me with screws. So I've learned my lesson and just try to do as best as I can to keep all this organized so I can work on these. These are really cool vices. The way I have it now is usually I would have it facing this way because then it can't tilt forward. But since we're doing this video, I'm tilting it forward, which makes it a little bit awkward on balance-wise. So just know if I'm fooling with it, it's not to fool with you. I'm just trying to do the best to show and tell. All right, so the first thing I want to do is I already know that this ribbon is bad. You can see it. It just looks terrible. But like I said, it's a Cascade. It's a Fathead. Very highly recommended. Everybody wants it because it's a great transformer. But I guarantee you every single one that you get will be like this. So what I'm going to do is I have all these little tools. I just want to kind of get under, and I'm going to take this tape. I'm going to put new tape on it anyways. But I just want to get this kind of broken up so I can get the screen off. There's a screen in there and there's tape. can just run it across. I don't know if that's going to fully rip off, but I'm going to try. Do it. It's a little bit wrinkled. What I usually get with that is I'll get this, I'll put it on the floor, kind of iron it out, kind of get it back flat again. I don't want to ruin the screen. This is strictly just to keep the ribbons inside. You can say it may have something to do with the sound, but even Royer, I think their screens are basically to just keep the ribbons from bouncing outside the transducer. So that came out pretty easy. Trash, of course. Then try to do the same with this one. See if I can get that off. All right, that came off half of it, or most of it. So if you're just joining me, I've opened up this Fathead ribbon mic, which are very desirable. And I've always known that these just have terrible ribbons inside. And that's kind of a little bit of a bummer because people pay a lot of money. I mean, you can get a pair of these for $600, or the lowest I see them is about $250 for one of them. And they always have terrible ribbons. So what I'm doing right here is I'm just rolling out this screen. So once again, when I put it back, it's close to flat. You can see that pretty good. And this is just to protect the not only from things going into the ribbon, but the ribbon from bouncing out of that and maybe getting stuck on the magnet. So looking at that just looks terrible. We're going to replace this, and I don't know if you can tell, it's kind of like really like almost like a hammock. You know, those little things you sleep on between a tree. It's not supposed to be like that. So as it arrives or has been used, the ribbon is stretched out. So this is not salvageable. And if I just gave it back to him, it'd probably be a little bit dull and wouldn't have a lot of high end in it. And it needs to sound its best because of what a great transformer is inside. So I put 3 screws in here. I still have the little tiny screws from the Beyer mic that I was working on earlier, but those will not be used later. So now I'm going to take off I'm going to take out the ribbon. Let's see here. So this mic you could say, was used on a lot of tours. I think Silver Sun Pickups toured with the Muse and a bunch of other bands. I'm pretty positive Fritz Rashad is their live sound engineer. He also recorded Elliott Smith's last record. He also recorded my band. I have him do my vocals when I'm just like, I want to be an artist and I don't want to be a producer. I have my friend Fritz do it. So this is a favor for Fritz. I told him I would, as much as he's helped me out, I try to help him out. And what I always want to do is look at this and just kind of make sure that there's nothing on it, and there is. So now that's clean. And just to let you know that this one is always plastic and that one is metal. It's because one is positive and one is negative. The negative one runs around here and then into the transducer. The positive, if you can see it, the plastic keeps it from, when you screw it into the transducer, the plastic is not transmitting the signal into the negative. But with that little bar, when it goes down and completes the microphone, the positive, it goes into this solder joint, which goes into this wire that goes into the transducer. So we have one wire running to positive this side into the transformer, and then the negative is running around and going into this. This one doesn't necessarily need a wire on its side. There are some mics that have a wire that comes around like a humbucker. Nadies have those sometimes. I'm not sure this one, but these sound great. But like I said, so this one is plastic. You can see it. That's the contact to the ribbon. When you clamp that down, it completes the sound transmitting through this side of the ribbon into that wire, into the transformer. And then there's another wire that ran out, and it's soldered. You can't see it, but it'd probably be in the bottom soldering to make contact with this. And then that is made contact with here. And this brass plate or metal plate, which pushes down on the ribbon, that then touches the transducer, which sends a negative signal down to the transformer, and this is the positive going down. And that's how a ribbon mic works. It's basically just kind of caveman. You have your magnets, which are having a magnetic field. And that's where the other thing too is when I replace these ribbons, I try to cut them as close as I can to the sides of these without touching. This cut looks actually pretty good, but sadly the ribbon's wasted. All right. So once again, we're going to put this little part. We can't lose that. It's going to be back in that section. So we've taken apart that side, and now we're going to do the brass metal side. Sorry about the awkwardness. I'm working around my camera, so I'm trying my best not to bump the camera, but show you what I'm doing. And like I said, I'm getting the toughest screws today. I can't fail on you guys again. All right. So the screw right there. Travis? Yeah, you know, I saw that. I'm so sorry, man. I've been so caught up in my own life of just surviving and even getting to the point now to be able to do this. Do me a favor. I think you did write me on my Instagram. Can you write me on my Instagram again? It's Manny's Mic Locker. And sometimes on Instagram it's weird. Like I'll get a message that will be not in my regular mailbox. It'll be like in a, not even a spam. It just doesn't come out of my regular mail. So sometimes I don't see messages from people for a few weeks or month. I'll try to check for that. And let me know, Travis Duran, or if you know, a lot of times guys, Mickey Mouse Studio or something, you know, I have no idea who that is when they add me or send me a message. So I'm aware of that, and Dave was nice to write me and let me know about that. So I appreciate that. Well, here is, it's just stuck to it, which is okay. But before I destroy this ribbon, I at least want to show you what it looks like. So that being said, it's pretty much flat. It's supposed to look kind of like that right there. Oh man, thank you for checking out the LP. He's referring to Uno, which is my band's, the Chavez Ravine. We have a record called Uno. And man, in my life, honestly, even though I love doing this, being a musician, writing songs is the most rewarding. So if you like that record, that means a lot to me. Okay, so I just removed it. So here's the little brass plate. It looks pretty good. Minus the red paint, it's all right. So put that down. So remember, we had the brass plate there. We have the plastic plate there. And this is our ribbon. And I think that the quality of the ribbon kind of matters. Like this is like, it almost feels like a plastic. I use high-grade aluminum. It's really expensive. It doesn't feel like this. I don't think I'd be able to, I mean, this does come apart. Let's see if I can break it. Yeah, it breaks with a little bit of a snap. It's a little bit of elastic feel to it, which makes me feel like it's almost like a plastic. But anyway, so I've just destroyed that ribbon. But that ribbon was useless, and it's making this mic not sound good. All right, so now we have our mic open. Now there is, on the other side, there's a screen behind it. And the same thing as you saw me with the tape and removing it. On Nadies, for some reason, the tape is terrible. It's almost falling apart. So I almost have to do both sides and retape it and re-put the screens on. But these, as you saw, this is pretty difficult to get off. So at least the tape is really good. I'm going to put new tape on that. But to the most part, that's why I'm not removing the back screen, because I don't necessarily need to remove that to get the ribbon. So now I'm going to figure out, how am I going to do this ribbon? I got to put a ribbon, the same thing in there. So I have my trusty tool here. So what I want to do is I want to figure out what the gap is, and then realistically cutting my ribbon as close as I can to the gap. So I'm gonna make a guess. 5.25 or 30 millimeters. Let me just see. All right, 0. You saw me take it apart. I haven't measured it, but it looks. Let's see if my gap's wrong. It could be even 540. I don't know. It looks pretty big. All right, so then let me go here. Thing reset. I did say 525, 530. Yep, 530, 529. All right, 530. Well, I was close. So 530 millimeters. So I'm gonna go 530. No, I can't cut the ribbon to that because there's a good chance it's just, I don't know. A lot of times these are uneven. As much as quality control, I would say, even the magnets are thicker, and even looking at this, they're not even placed in exactly the same place. So you can't just cut a bunch of ribbons. Oh wow, Shannon, $10. Woohoo! You know what I'm getting? I'm getting some more Pellegrino, man. Thank you so much. That is so sweet. All right, that kind of made my day. It's looking brighter. And like I said, if you ever want to send me thanks or buy me a coffee, right below all my videos that you watch, if you really dig them, you just hit the thank you, and you can just put in a few bucks. It does help me out, man. I mean, I get paid usually once a month, and usually when that money comes in, I'm like, oh my God, I need to buy food and things for the studio to live. So it really does help me. You really are supporting me, and thank you. I'm gonna take a drink of my water. Hold on. That was amazing. Thank you, Shannon. And to everyone, Shannon is a man. So now that I've got this, and I'm going to loosen this up again. So when I measured it, it was like close to 530. So now what I want to do is when I cut this ribbon, yeah, I don't need that. So we know that's 530. I want to figure out what's the kind of the tolerance of how much I can really cut this. And obviously that is not a big gap, but even though it's 5.30 millimeters, less than 5.5 millimeters. And give you an example, coals are about 6. So this coals are about that big, what you see there, and they're 6, so they're wide, but the foil is super thin. This is 530, and so now what I want to do is hold on a second. Let's see here. Someone sent me a message. I want to learn how to record bands. There's a bunch of bands coming out of the Inland Empire currently, all high school age, and a few venues popping up in Pomona. You're actually really lucky that you're going to catch a scene. That could be a massive music scene that's going to affect the world. So I would just suggest be patient, record a lot of bands for free, and you just have to get in there and start making it happen. Okay, so let's talk about cutting this. So it's 5.30 millimeters, and like I said, 6 would be like a Coles. Steger mics, crazy enough, I think they're close to 8 across. It's massive. This is pretty good. I think the gap in this is going to be pretty nice. So what I do is I measured it. It's 530. I like to give myself about a 15 to 20 millimeter, or a point 15 or 0.20 gap on each side. That's not, even though it sounds like a lot, it's really not. So let's say it's 530. I'll cut the ribbon to possibly 5, or 490. And it just depends, because once again, this is good chance it's not that even, not that straight. And you can't just cut a bunch of ribbons unless you're like, if you worked at AEA or Royer, you could probably cut 30 ribbons to the same dimensions and it's going to fit all the microphones, because the consistency of those microphones is really high and they're really quality driven. So that's what's going to make that happen. These microphones, even though it's a great microphone, great transformer, I think the magnets, I could do a bunch of these and you may go 520, 530, 515, 535. They all it's all variable. And also, even the cutting of this, if you just cut this a hair off of what it is and they put the magnets inside and they glue them, if this isn't consistent every cut, it's not laser cut, if these are done by hand, then you are going to get a little bit of inconsistent gaps. So you always got to measure it. So now that I've measured it, I'm going to give myself a tolerance of, let's say, I'm going to go 490 to 495 or 5, and let's just see if a ribbon can work. So these are sheets I've already cut of ribbons. They usually, when you buy them, they don't come this big. I buy them in big sheets. They're really expensive, but the quality of the ribbon does make me happy. I get my own paper. I cut it's really scary, but I have to cut these big sheets, and then I cut them down into quarters. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think I usually get 6 sheets out of it. Then I have to get the foil and glue it here. I'm sorry, glue it here and glue it here, and then cover it in this. And this isn't, it's raw inside. If I was to move this this paper, a good chance this is going to be ruined. So in doing that, it makes it, a little bit firm, a little bit sturdier to work with. Since I've glued both ends, I feel like when you do a measurement on this, and so what I'll basically do is just go down and measure this, like let's say do a tolerance of 15 on each side, which would be 30, and it's 530, so it'll be 5.0. Or if I go 490, I will open up this guide and just mark it all the way down. And then I'll use a ruler, and then I'll just, with a new razor blade, I'll cut the strip. And then once it looks like that, then I'll install it. So let me just do this right now. I'll just, usually I don't do this part, but we're here. And I do have to get this done because this isn't really show and tell. This is like real deal. Like, I'm gonna be in trouble if I don't get Fritz's mic back to him. So I put the screws in there so I don't lose them. So now, like I said, we're gonna cut this ribbon. And how would I do it? So once again, you just don't get ribbon that's like this already. And where I learned, initially I never would glue this side. I would put a little bit of glue there and I would put the ribbon in. I'd have 2 pieces of paper and then I would sandwich them. But what I found, and this is silly because I learned from watching one of the videos on how AEA makes their ribbons. And I didn't remember that, but when I barely first started re-ribboning, I saw that the guy put a paper down, he put some glue here, he put some glue here, and then he laid the foil down gently, and then he pressed the glue out, and then he sealed it. And I didn't really understand what that was. I didn't really understand anything about mics, except I was thrilled to want to learn how to do a ribbon mic. But now that I've come to find out is the reason is when you're cutting it, if you didn't glue this end, you could have the foil start to slip outside. So what happens is you'll get a little bit of a angle on that. Now early on, I used to cut it a little bit intentionally like that. I don't know why. I just thought it sounded good when I would cut it straight but now I'm just like, no, you got to make it straight. So most of the time, I try to get as straight as you can here. There's like, for instance, if you went to Royer or somewhere else, they go across a big sheet and they're just going to mark them. And then could put lines here, they're going to put lines there, and they're going to pencil them all up. So when you get the sheet of foil, it's already got all the marks on it. The problem with what I'm doing is I get a lot of different mics. So I can't prep, and I have to basically cut all the microphones to custom to what they are. For instance, this one, like I said, is 5.3. 530, they're all not going to be that. So I just can't waste. And this foil is really expensive. All right, so now we're going to just do the Manny vibe here. Let's see if I can get this done and have it look doable. Hold on 1 second. Let me set my caliper here. Give me 1 second. Trying to get this prepped and ready. All right. So now, there's other ways of doing this I'm sure are going to be more efficient, but this is just the way I've done it. And like I said, taking the measurements on the bottom and the top could probably do it as well, but this is just the way I've always done it. And so far, they all sound amazing. So I'll just get it. I'll put a dot there. That's one. Good luck. Then I'm going to go back and I'm going to do in between. And what I'm doing is I'm just putting a bunch of dots because I'm going to just get what's the common denominator of it. When you put you start to get it ready to cut it, I'm going to set up the ruler, so I'm just kind of seeing I'm close to the money. And because I'm doing this by hand, yeah, the consistency is just what you do and how good you can cut it, honestly. I think somewhere down the road, people can get, I think CAD, they cut these with, whatchamacallit, lasers. I obviously don't have a laser cutter. I don't mind cutting them by hand. It's kind of cool. I take a lot of pride in doing this. So I have my razor blades always in this jar. I think I've been cutting a lot of ribbons last night and over the last 2 days. So what I usually do with these is, I just had a good Sharpie. What I usually do with these is when I'm cutting, like, boxes and cutting other things, I usually just like to make sure that I know that these are not fresh, good ones. I'll put a little X on them, so I know not to use these again, because I'm going to put a new razor blade in circulation, and I want to make sure that these are all just used for utility stuff. And also, when you get rid of razor blades, be super careful not to just throw them in the trash. There's a lot of homeless people that may go through your trash, and even scavengers trying to get cans and bottles. So what I usually do with these is I'll get these, and then I'll get some gaffer's tape, and I'll just make a almost a ball of gaffer's tape around them to make sure that when they go in the trash, if someone starts to unwrap it, they're not going to cut themselves. And eventually, if they unwrap the ball, they're going to have a present of some used razor blades. But that hasn't happened. And like I said, because I'll wrap them, I'll make them opposite. So when I dispose of them, I'm wrapping them in the tape, almost in that fashion, each one. So we have, not sharp and not sharp. And then I'm just wrapping them all together in tape. And that is just the way I dispose of my razor blades. I don't know any other way to do that that's safely. So I went and bought this little pack here, and I want to get a new razor blade out. Really easy. You just push on that, and that razor blade comes up. Looks like I have one left. Time to go to the hardware store. Am I going to go to Home Depot? I don't think so. It's not that I have any sort of worry with that, not to be political, but the raids that just happened in Los Angeles started at the Home Depot by my house. I live about 2 blocks away from it, and that morning I'd taken my wife to work, and I saw all these things happening. I was like, whoa, what's going on over there? And then I hear that they raided the parking lot at 7 a.m. and that's exactly the time that me and my wife drive by there. So I can go to Home Depot. I'm just saying. So anyway, so this is a brand new razor blade. I'm just showing you. I've made those dots. I don't know if you can really see them. I'm hoping you can. Let me just see if you can see that. Yeah, you can see the little tiny dots right there. So I've measured them out, and the tolerance that I put in there is the ribbon, like I mentioned before. The ribbon here was 5.30 millimeters, and my tolerance I'm making at 4.95, which is like, I got some wiggle room because when I cut it, it could end up being more 5. So I'm doing it basically about 15.15 on each side. So it would add up to about 0.30, I don't know how you would say that, millimeters, but it's not a full millimeter. It's only about a quarter of that. And considering that's only 5 millimeters a gap, it's really not a lot. And you'd be shocked on what a fine line, when you cut these, how much tolerance you really have on either side. So for me, that's a comfortable zone where I'll have an easy installation, and hopefully, and like I said, if I mess up and there's not enough, then I'll cut a little bit more and it's okay. So now I'm measuring this out, and I'm making sure that, and also for safety, I always put my razor blades back in there because I've been cut before and I don't like it. All right, so I know you're not going to be able to see it totally from the angle you are, but I'm trying to get this in. I'm going to drop this on so I can barely notice where the first dot is. Then I'll go up to the top and put the second dot. And I can see all along this line, I got little specks of the dot coming through. So that's going to be my cut. And that's honestly going to be probably a little bit more. Not more, but I mean saying if I measure this out to be 4.95 millimeters, I'm probably cutting it with that slight eyeball kind of cutting it, probably closer to 5. So now I have 0.30 of like a tolerance on each side. So when I put the ribbon in there, I have a little bit of wiggle room, honestly. And that ribbon is going to be flopping in and out, and you don't want it to catch the ribbon. If you were to cut it, I mean, if you were like Royer or AEA, you could probably have them cut even closer because they're going to be a considerable more consistent. But when I get all these Chinese mics and stuff, they're all inconsistent. So you just got to give yourself some wiggle room. It does cost some money to re-ribbon. So I'm just trying to do my best to get this done here. And like I said, if you're just joining me, I'm doing a Cascade Fathead. And I'm basically, I took it apart. We looked at the ribbon. It was terrible. I took the ribbon out. I now measure the ribbon and I'm going to cut. And I think that's where I'm going to leave off. Once I get this cut, I actually have to get rolling on this because I got to make it to the post office. So I may cut this a little bit short, but I'll do another one where I'll get to the point of installing the ribbon. I know I've done a bunch of those, but I thought even this information could at least show you a little bit if you're planning on doing it yourself. And I will say what I'm doing isn't like super crazy special, but it has taken me a long time to learn how to handle the ribbon so you don't ruin it, find the ribbon, buy the ribbon, cut it so it's manageable, learn techniques about how I'm going to cut it, measure it, learn techniques about how do you measure the gap and what am I seeing when you look at a ribbon. And sometimes if you get an old RCA mic, you will only see the ribbon being slack, and you could technically within that tighten it up. It's almost like a facelift. You just get a little tucking and it works out really great, and you didn't have to cut a new ribbon because the older ribbon, they were made excellent, and even the quality of the ribbon for whatever reason is just high quality, and it doesn't really you could just do that, but you can't really do that on a lot of new mics. They think the ribbon quality isn't good. All right, so now, excuse me, I got a new razor blade. And I'm going to attempt to cut this around the camera. So I'm just going to eyeball this one more time, make sure I got it right. All right, that's about good. Now, when I put this razor blade down on it, I've noticed this. If I make it more of a point, here's some cops coming by. I've heard that actually ICE is raiding the city I'm in right now. Montebello, Pico Rivera. It's near there. So, if you hear any cops going down, just things are happening. But I will say this, and this is not to be political. For anybody that doesn't live in the United States or doesn't live in Los Angeles, when they talk about the city burning down and everything's looking crazy, actually it's not true. I live about 2 blocks from the border of downtown LA and Haycliff, and I live just outside of Chinatown. And with all the riots and everything going down, it really is only confined to about 1 block, maybe 2. And it happens to be really near the 101 freeway. So when you see the cluster of people and you see all those things happening when they close the freeway, that's literally just a block away from City Hall and the ICE Detention Center, which is off of Alameda. And it's near Mocha as well, the museum where they keep a lot of stuff there. So when you see the news and it looks like things are going crazy, LA is massive. If I got in my car right now and I drove 80 miles an hour, I would get to the end of LA in about 45 minutes to an hour. It's like Beijing. It just goes forever. So when you see about all these pictures of LA and it's getting crazy, it's not. It's only around 1 block or 2 blocks. And believe me, I have no interest to going in those blocks. But also what they don't say is that no one lives in those blocks. The ICE Detention Center, City Hall, anything that's like city or civic or municipal, it's all within 1 to 2, 3, maybe 4 blocks of downtown LA. So just be aware of that when the news looks like it's terribly bad. Yeah, there is a curfew. Yes, you can get arrested. Yes, if you go into downtown and you're walking around, you can get, stopped and asked. And ICE right now is on the trains going in, the buses going into LA trying to find people. But that doesn't necessarily mean that LA is burning down. So when you see the news and it looks really horrific, it's not really the case. Totally had no problem driving where I live near downtown into East LA to my studio. I left last night my studio after working on ribbon mics till almost 11:30 or 12 last night. No police, no problems. There's no looters, no rioting, nothing bad going on. So that's kind of a true insight to what it's like in LA. But yes, people have been hurt. The rioters did burn down a few cars and start some stuff going on in all these days, but technically it's well contained. And if you're going into that area, then you're taking a risk yourself to protest, and not only that, to bodily harm, whether you believe in the stance of what you're marching about or not. This is not political. This is just about how the world. I have relatives that have called me from Kansas City and Salt Lake City, and I don't know what they're seeing in the media, but it just looks like LA is just burnt down. I mean, even if you cannot burn down LA because it is so big. Downtown LA, shockingly, I've been to New York City and Manhattan. Manhattan is massive. It's a big city. People live downtown, Greenwich Village. It's crazy. Everybody's living and it's near commercial. There are some artist districts and lofts in downtown LA, but definitely none of that's happening there. So anyways, back to the work. What am I going? You guys got me on a rant. Holy moly. Okay, so now I'm going to cut this. So when I was saying what I've learned, some people use like X-Acto knives. I just can't. I just don't like them. I put my finger really hard on this, and I think the angle for some reason matters. If I go in you would think you'd put this in with the sharp point down. As you start to cut it, I feel like it doesn't make a good cut and kind of snags the paper. So what I like to do is I start the cut and then I angle this down. So as this is, if I can show the paper. So when I cut it, if I cut the ribbon and I do it like a sharp, you're cutting it, it's cutting it, and I go like this, I felt like it snags this paper and doesn't make a good cut. And what I've noticed, I get a better cut when I put the razor blade in and then I kind of tilt it down almost as it's cutting. Anything that lifts up is being cut with this as well. So it's kind of like almost 2 cuts, like I'm cutting into it And as I move the razor blade down, anything that folds up or anything that like wants to tug or pull or not go in the right direction, the blade, since it's in a lower angle, is giving me a little bit more of a cut across the ribbon. Because technically you have to cut through 2 pieces of paper and you have to cut through the foil. And these do get dull pretty quick if you're doing a lot of cuts. And also, I don't know if it's magnetized, but after a while, it's probably best you just change them out. So that's why I have a box of them. And I'm actually down to 1 now because I do change them regularly because I want good cuts. And I just don't want to be cheap and be like, oh, I'm going to use the same razor blade over and over and over, but my cuts are not becoming as good as they were the first time I did it. So I'm going to show you how to do this. So now I'm going to put the cut in. So I'm not going to be looking at the camera. So if it gets a little weird, and also I want to make sure, because I was talking, I didn't move this. So I'm just checking it. That's about right. And I can see, you can't, but I see little tiny, barely images of this coming through. So now I'm going to cut this here. So I'm going to put this down. I'm not looking at the camera because I got to make a good cut. I try to hold this as straight as I can. I'm looking straight down on this and I'm going to drop in. So because I glued it here and I glued it here, I'm not going to necessarily start in the glue area because it goes up to there. So I'm going to cut a little bit below it because it'll dull the razor blade if I'm cutting through the glue. So I'm going to start, and it's okay. This is glue is just holding it in there, and now I'm able to make a cut, and I won't have the foil slide around left or right. It's giving me the best possibilities. So let's cut. I'm going to start a little bit before that. And like I said, I'm going to cut in with the razor blade down, and then I'm going to tilt it down a little bit, not flat, but just enough, so as I start to pull it slow and consistent, it'll cut, and anything that pops up is kind of cut a little bit later on in there. So it just, for me, I feel like it's a better cut. All right, so let's do this one time. So I'm just going to do it real slow. It's a brand new razor blade. I'm happy with that one. So you can see, those are my dots. I'm almost on the edge of all of them. And that's okay. So I'm going to disconnect this one from the one so as you can tell I've done all these cuts the same. I'm just going to do a little jagged cut like that. All right. So I'm going to put this aside because I definitely don't want to damage that. That is expensive foil. Put the razor blade back. Well, no, actually not yet. So now, because I know the bottom is glued, I'm going to just cut it. Let me see if I can get that a little bit in there. So, like I said, there was glue up here, and I've cut it off, so now there's no glue here. Now on the bottom, I know the glue goes about right here, so I'm just going to make another cut. And also, it's important, I know I forgot to mention that, but the because you're corrugating this, you want to make sure that you have enough ribbon to work with. So I'm going to, this is going to stick to this because it's magnetized. Let me get this, actually, hold on a second, I don't want to ruin my foil. Get this in the screen. So when you have this down, you can look at this, 2.5 inches is usually about the size of most transducers. I don't know if you can see that, 2.5. So you don't necessarily want to cut your ribbon exactly to 2.5 because you're going to have it corrugated and you need a little wiggle room. So I'll use this as an example. I won't use the actual ribbon because I don't want to take a chance of damaging it. I have to still corrugate it, but I want to show you. So that's the paper that I cut. If you look at the measurement of it, let me put up the light so you can see it. It's almost 4 inches. Now, obviously you want to save a little bit of money on foil, but what I've come to find out is if you cut the ribbon not enough, like let's say if I cut it to 2.5, it's right there. When I go to install this, and I use the paper because I haven't yet put the ribbon in. when I go to install this in the microphone and I'm laying this ribbon in, if I have it too short, there's not a lot of wiggle room if I make a mistake. So a lot of times when I drop this in the microphone, I want a little bit of wiggle room as I pull it and tug it, that I have some room. And sometimes, you know, as you lay it in, a part of it will be damaged. Let's say I put it in and there's a crease right here that happens. I still got enough room to pull it through to have a better cut and corrugation. So that little extra room. So I would suggest, and like I said, if this transducer is 2.5 inches, give yourself 4 inches of ribbon. Now there is a problem with thinner ribbons and also thicker ribbons. When you cut more of this, there's more of a possibility of this turning into a little pig's tail, which is, you'll get little swirls and it's really difficult to work with. So that's what I meant about years and years of practicing. And if you just noticed, I just folded that accidentally. So this is super precious. And that's why I'm going to let you go after this, because I have to really, I don't want to do this twice. And I've already had a little bit of a klutzy morning trying to get that 260 open. So I hope any of this or all of this was good for you. And like I said, just to give you an idea of how this will look once it happens, this is the foil, the actual foil. I'm going to drop it in there. All right, so that's not what it's going to eventually look like. I have to corrugate it. And if you notice, it's a little bit raw and crude. When I put it between the two papers and I'm going to corrugate it, it'll definitely even all that, where then it'll be an even, consistent, let's see, do we even have one around here? I think I do. Hold on a second. Give me 1 second. Yeah. So this one isn't one I'm going to use, but this one at least give you an idea. So make sure I keep, this is super important. I don't want to ruin that. It's a good cut. When I get done corrugating it, it'll be something like that. I mean, this one was cut from another mic, so it's not going to fit in this one. But let me see if I can get it in there to look at least nice. So, if you can see that. It's not going to fit because this ribbon is bigger than that. But technically, it will not look flat, but it'll look like that the whole length. So if you remember what it first looked like, it definitely didn't look like that. So when I get done with the mic, it'll be a corrugation that'll run across. The ribbon will actually fit, not like this one, which is too big. And interesting, here's my little graveyard of Beyer 160s. So these are how small Beyer 160 ribbons are. Look at that. So you have to cut that. And how durable are these? They're so durable. Look at that. That thing stands straight up. Foil, if you're, you just saw me moving around with this foil, pre-corrugated, it doesn't do this. It would flop, you would see this flop over like a limp biscuit. But these are high quality. These are good ribbons. Well, they're bad ribbons because they were blown, but basically, ribbon cutting is an art. I am blessed after 3 to 4 years to be able to do that. Hey, Cliff. Oh, man, dude, thank you. Yeah, if you want to check out something of mine, search on Google Manny in China, or look under T-pop and then search Manny Nieto. You'll see me when I travel through China recording bands. I'm actually glad I did that when I was 45, and I'm actually 59 now, so whew, I'm already getting exhausted thinking about that. I hope you dig that. And like I said, if you want to help me out, you can buy me a cup of coffee. Look in the title, and you see a little thank you area, and you can buy me a cup of coffee. Shannon bought me maybe 3 bottles of Pellegrino. Thank you. And hey to everyone, I've got a lot to do. If you have sent me your ribbons and I'm getting to them, I'm really dedicating my time in the next few days to do high quality re-ribbons. And like you said, how much time you've seen me just to open this up and look at it, That's just the story for every time you work on a ribbon mic. You have to measure it, you have to cut it, and then I still have to plug it into my system and check it and make sure that the ribbon mic is good. And the only thing that ever happens that would be very rare is if, it can't really happen on this one, but some of the other ribbon mics that have exposed wires, you just have to make sure you're really careful with those, because you have a positive and a negative. But this mic is pretty much self-contained. Everything is just meets right there at that little area where there's a positive on this side, and then underneath it will be a negative. The negative runs around. So all ribbon mics are pretty much caveman. It's just magnets, a magnetic field, positive and negative. The negative runs down into the positive. This shakes. It goes into the magnets. This makes electricity of the sound. The positive and the negative pick it up. It goes into the transformer and then out of the XLR. Holy smokes, Cliff. What are you doing? He just hooked me up with $45. Jesus. That means I'm getting some Pellegrino. I'm going to go to Trader Joe's and buy some high quality albacore tuna. And I got some Nick's Cafe. Oh my God, man, that is so rad. Thank you guys, man. I thank you guys for your support. I do have a lot planned on getting back. Once I can get over the backlog of ribbon repairs that I'm getting done, I am going to then, I have some really cool plans on shooting some videos in mic lockers. I've spoken to a dear friend of mine, Billy Bush, who's also Butch Vig's right-hand man, did Garbage, and he's an amazing sound engineer and recording guy. I'll be going to his mic locker. I have another one that I did a while ago that I've just got to finish. It was up in the Bay Area, which I did. And then Pierre from a studio in Highland Park has a really, I think it's called 64 Sound. I have that one. What did I do, Pierre? No, I have to finish Pierre. Yeah. So, I mean, I have a lot to do. And, that's okay. Danish crowns is fine. 45, is that ended up being 10 or 15? It doesn't matter, man. If you gave me $1, even if it was pesos, which could be like 1,000, I'm just thrilled over my mind. So anyways, thank you guys. I'm going to enjoy some Pellegrino, and then I'm going to be making a run to the post office. I have about 4 mics that are going to hit the post office right now. I'm going to get this one done for Fritz. And like I said, this is a freshly cut ribbon. And even though it's cut, you can see the quality of the aluminum matters. This is really good aluminum. And spend a little extra money, get it done properly, or make sure whoever's doing it puts in a good aluminum. And you can get all these fatheads and make them sound as good as, and use them as cool as the Coles. Coles cost almost, a pair could run you almost $3,200, brand new. These are only about $300, $400. And if you put a new ribbon in it, now you're talking, this mic's going to sound like a $1,200 ribbon mic. So it's worth the investment. If you get a Nady, which are cheaper, I also do those as well. The Nady is almost identical to this without the big transformer. But I will say, if you got Neves and API preamps, it almost doesn't matter. This is just making it louder. But if you have a good ribbon mic preamp, man, you can crank that and it'll be low distortion and it will sound great even with a stock normal transformer. But the cut of the ribbon has to be high quality ribbon, high quality corrugation, not having a massive gap between these two magnets. All those things will make your ribbon mic sound amazing. All right, well, that looks like I talked for about an hour and 15 minutes, maybe. If you have participated, thank you so much. It looks like I made, you guys sent me about $16. So I'm going to assume the Danish was probably about $6 to $10. So thank you so much. Cliff, wherever you are, I am planning on going to Europe. Here's something that's cool. I just recorded a band called Werewolf Etiquette. And they're planning to go to Germany in November, I believe. And I'd be helping them record a live album out there. I have a lot of friends and mic companies out there. Mayberg's out in Berlin and Germany, so I would look forward to seeing Mayberg out there. But also, there's another band that contacted me about working on their record, and I just did a conference call with them about possibly maybe October being in France. So I'm not necessarily know if I'm going to be totally close to you, but maybe there's a way of somewhere in Europe, man. Maybe you guys can let me know of some cool places to go see bands or music or anything going on within France or Germany. And I'm not sure how long I'll be in either place, but I definitely have a lot of bucket list things I'd like to do while I'm out there. So I have been to Europe, well, not Europe, well, England and the UK. I worked at Abbey Road for about 4 or 5 days, and I have been to England outside of that with the Mars Volta. They had recorded their first record at my first studio, and they were nice enough to buy me a ticket to Europe, and I hung out with them in Minehead. And what I was gonna say, I forgot what I was gonna tell you. Anyways, I just want to say thank you guys, Shannon, Cliff, everyone that checked in. Looks like how many people are watching right now? 11. So all 11 of you, thank you so much for checking it out. I hope you learned something. If you're interested in cutting ribbon mics and repairing them, I will say it's one of those things that's like kind of cool to be able to go out and buy mics that are broken and the ribbons are blown. And like I said, the hardest mics to work on are Beyer mics. And then also Reslows and some of the older microphones are just a rat's nest or a wasp's nest of issues you're going to have. I've replaced all those and really taxing, and I used every ounce of skill I ever had to get those mics up and going to sound good, and they did. But that being said, these lollipop mics are super dream to work on. All the MXLs that you see me, the 144s, are super easy to work on. If you get into RCAs and vintage mics, it's another school. And I'm not sure I do those and I'm comfortable with changing the ribbons, but a lot of times you get those and there's issues with the wiring, the transformers, and sometimes there's people that are experts in the vintage ones that are sometimes saves you the money and the headache of just sending it to them. You pay a little extra money. Even for me, I do that as well. So just work on what you can. I'd recommend buying some cheap Chinese mics, any ribbons. They're probably all easy. The ones that are really difficult, besides the Beyers, are stereo ribbon mics. They're just a nightmare as well, man. Those they almost look like they're like Royers double stacked. It's not. I think Cascade may make one, but there's a few other companies that make them. And when you open them up, it's really difficult to understand how to not only pull out both of the transducers, but not break a wire. But then you have to make sure that the ribbons face, the B&Os or the BM5s. You have to make sure that the ribbons face the same direction they came in, because that's the way they're set up. Because the front of the ribbon is positive and the back of the ribbon is negative. So the polarity is important. So when you get one of those stereo ribbons, and if you're going to attempt to re-ribbon them, I've learned from not any mistakes, because early on I was so paranoid about it. I had marked the front of each mic transducer. There's two of them. And then I mic the front of the mic, the actual grill, and the front of the mic. So those would line up. So I'm lining up the grill with the body. And as I remove the microphones, I'm lining up the front of the mic with the grill, each side. And it's a little bit of a hectic thing to pull them apart and work with them. And then you have to put them back in the same way you got it. And I think the hardest one is, it's not taking out the first one, but it's the second one that becomes a little bit of a nightmare to work on. So if you're going to get a stereo mic, just make sure you've already done it enough. And like I said, cutting ribbons, as you just saw, is only scary in the sense of I put about a good 30 minutes into that. I don't want it to be ruined. So that's why, oh, I almost dropped it too. See what I mean? That's why I'm going to let you guys go so I don't ruin this mic for Fritz. Whew. All right, everyone. For everybody that has a ribbon, I'm working on it. I'm working for you. I'm getting these done. Have a great day. Let's see if I can log out of this, and I appreciate everyone checking it out. I'm going to freeze frame this, take a picture, and I think I'll make that the cover. All right, let's see if I can log out. Can I get out? How do I get out? There it is. Are you sure you want to stop?